This is Mars, our Saturn day, which is the day of Uranus as well. And I want to talk about something. I call it to orgasm with another is a societal change. And this is one of the most compatible topics about Uranus in Gemini that we don't hear so often. Uranus rules life energy, Kundalini, sexual energy. Gemini rules society. Aquarius also rules ideas and society and mass, or ideology. This is why my colleagues in astrology often get this, why are astrologers so sexy, except for Pfizer? And the reason being is because usually no parent think, oh, my child will be an astrologer. Maybe in this generation they will. I hope it will not stop being sexy. But because this is a trajectory where you take by intellectually, energetically, and physically identifying that there is some sort of paradigm or cosmology or explanation that is comprised of more than you've been told, and you find the missing components that make the picture more intelligible. What it takes is courage, because this is, I went through almost 2 degrees in an academia where the best of the people that were there, not the trafficky people, the best of the people were saying, well, it's physics, it's exact science, not like, astrology. And I went through the best of my years innately knowing, innately looking for the astrology of different times in history, the understanding that healing modalities that I discovered through looking at my chart were not available if I would go to my HMO or to my health insurance and say, but I need to treat that and I need to treat that. To be an astrologer requires courage to another level. When I began to talk about astrology as coming out, I got a backlash from the LGBTQ community. Oh, there are people that are murdered for that. Do you know how many times I have been tortured, threatened, targeted, simply because I am an astrologer? My life in risk, attempts to traffic me, simply because I do astrology. Then you can imagine what missing components. And astrology is not the one example. For sure, there are many sciences, many breakthroughs. I can only speak from the vantage point that I know. Uranus also rules scientific revolution. And the revolutionary, I remember when I came to a physics instructor, physics teacher, and I said, well, if we understand, and if the weather and the earthquakes are governed by nonlinear dynamic systems that are chaos, and if we can make, through the interventions in the right intervals, a device that regulates the heartbeat, we can regulate earthquakes and prevent them. He looked at me dumbfounded. What I didn't understand is that I was in detail telling how we control the weather. Add chemistry and you get something that nobody knew, but 34, 35 people died a couple of days ago in the United States. The flu. And then they tell you it's the Bible. Now, definitely people could predict stuff in the Bible. They saw the stars. And they channeled. And yet we are told that Jesus was a magician and the weather obeyed him. Where every African person that is a bit spiritual has a prayers for the weather to obey them. Magic can also be about connection, not just obedience. Now you ask, but how is that related? Well, you think about the courage to be who you are, asserting yourself, the courage to look into the mystery and to question the status quo, the courage to reconnect with yourself in a world and society that wants everybody disconnected, dissociated, and under mind control. Now let's talk about the astral, because Uranus also rules that realm. I ran into an erotics teaching today by Esther Perel, and she says a woman should hide 5 things from a man, and it sounds very reasonable. Her financial status, none of his business. Her internal intuition, okay, if she has the intuition to say no, she doesn't need to explain herself. Makes sense. Her dreams, I don't know how you can connect with someone without sharing our dreams, but okay. What was it again? You gotta watch the video. But what internally I knew that in the astral realm is not possible. Because the minute you have a sexual relations that is actually intimate, that is actually energy, and that can even be without the physical part, then those things become permeable and become visible. I can tell you a story. In my previous apartment, there was a certain energy. And sometimes when I do charts, energy arises. And I'm in my bed, lying on my back, and I see that energy. That energy begins to show me things of my 12th house, things that I wasn't aware of. And through that energy, that is not outside of those circles that I was supposed to be kidnapped to, I began to understand something, an event that happened in my life where there was an attempt to kidnap me, and to what pedoring that would be to. And that energy was really trying to understand me, my upbringing, and so on. I'm lying on my back, and there wasn't something unpleasant or eerie about that. So I'm lying on my back, and I feel that energy, and I begin to align my back. I begin to align my spine, to be particular. And that energy is with me, so I wonder if that energy is trying to be intimate with me. But no. And I wondered, what is it? And then I realized that if I would be intimate with that energy, then, very simply put, I would see things that are about that energy. I would see who that energy is. I would see the history or the trajectory of that energy. I would see all these things that Esther Perel says, don't reveal. Why was that energy curious about me? I don't know. Because it was all that curious that it wanted to know all these things. So moving to the topic of this episode, I have another story. This story is from a lawyer, and with permission, she published one of her cases. It was a lady that was anorectic, very perfectionist, and then she began to recover, and she dated a pilot. And they were dating for a while. One day she finds out he's cheating on her. Okay, they said they would be monogamous, and he wasn't. And he begins to reply aggressively and threaten her, and threaten that if she would leave him, he would hospitalize her. She says she is crazy and take her kids. The lawyer had a very distinct answer for that. He said, well, that means that we can say he is a psychopath and take the kids. And so the wife goes to the pilot and says, well, who is going to take care of the kids? If you take the kids, you're a pilot. You have so many shifts. You're going to need to fund for that. Eventually, they settled down. But the fact was that the husband was recording every single thing that she said to him for years to use it against her. The reason is very simple. He could not be a pilot if he was not from the Brotherhoods. And she could only orgasm with him when it was misplaced arousal. That part she neglects. She neglects to tell us. Cervical orgasm, I don't mean only cervical orgasm, even with external arousal, requires the essence of letting go and reconnecting. This is why women have a hard time to have cervical orgasms, because most men are in those brotherhoods and they go through feminization, humiliation rituals even as children. Go and have sex with a lady. You thought that the woman who is sexual is a whore because there is a ritual around that. Go and have sex with a lady. And you can be leader of the top of the world. Even if you are gay, go and have sex with a man that is actually honoring, respectful of both of your intimacy. Yes, anal sex is a very intimate act. Requires no less tenderness than sex with ladies. And so if we ask about those two examples, what would need to be for people to orgasm together and have happiness before, during, and after? The way I define sex, the way I define good sex, and this is something that has been like the northern star for me. And that has set me apart of many other trajectories. And boy, there was attempts. Good sex is something that both people enjoy before, during, and after. That means if there was dissociation, then the after is a problem. Also, the before is a problem. If somebody didn't want to have sex, then something happened, I don't know, drugs or whatnot, and then poof, is also a problem, because the after is going to be, they were not really arriving to the readiness of desiring sex. If something goes wrong in the middle of the sex, yes, then if it's something mild, then you work on this for the next time, or you work on this towards, or you elect a better time to have sex, which is also astrology. I'm not the only one. I had a colleague when before she got pregnant, she elected good times to have sex. And so it's important for the conception, not just for successful pregnancy or fertility, but also for the experience of the conception, which is important. Yes. I know there are technologies that are growing infants and all these things, but eventually the coming back to the parents or to parenting people, then that would be need to be facilitated as a good experience. So when we ask the question, what would make here in that lady with the pilot or in those astral situations, okay, granted that people are, yes, attracted, what would make here a sex that is enjoyable to both before, during, and after? First of all, with the pilot case, it's very visible, a revolution in psychiatry. If psychiatry, because if that lady didn't have a lawyer, she would be threatened with a partner. So this is Neptune. This is a societal change. It's a generational planet. She was basically, very likely, if I would look at the synastry, I would see difficult Neptunian aspects. But to come out of these difficult Neptunian aspects, we need to have the societal change. As for my case, I already know it's Uranus Mars. Changes to the real estate, because the real estate is usually comprised by rape and trafficking that happen in the brotherhoods. I was at an apartment that I needed to get the fuck out of. That energy, by the way, assisted in that. And so when we genuinely, and I want you to practice, try to think, what would it take for you to have absolutely relaxed arousal, good sex, if you have a partner, with your partner, with another that you enjoy before, during, and after. You will see which outer planet. Pluto is about taboos in societies, but also power relations. Neptune can be secret society in psychiatry or drugs, but also divination, permeability. Our information is exposed. Our thoughts are available to be read. And it's not even volitional when those things occur. So transparency, Pluto in Aquarius, Uranus, clear cognizance, clear knowing, Kundalini rise. What is Kundalini rise? It's the dissolve of any trauma that we had in our body. So of course we're gonna know. A good orgasm does not enable us to apply what Lady Perel said. You make the own. But the point is not what she said on her or her life. The point is, try to make this exercise. And I had relationship coach. I like to tell this story. We had conversation. And her teaching was never reveal too much, never show too much, always be a little bit mysterious. Now, that happens naturally when you are in embodiment sense. When you are embodied, then naturally some things can be revealed, some things cannot, simply because that's the way the nervous system works. Yeah, just like some places you can touch and then on another day, no, and so on. And this is also where I asked her, I said, yes, but you say, keep this, never fully let go of it, your man. And I'm like, but what about the cervical orgasm? I got such a backlash that she told me, I see you triggered something here. Because all she knew was the stress of men for women to have cervical orgasm. She didn't even think about it from the perspective of the desire to be fully sexual with myself, and that the sex that I have with another is in line with that desire. That it is almost like a standard. Could I have cervical orgasm with that man? Could I be in a situation where I let go of that man and I can have him holding that space for me? Or woman, okay, depending, yes, or men for gay men. You think about it, gay people wanted to get married so that they can have the same rights of a straight couple. It was an LGBTQ revolution. Why? A man and a man had sex. That's it. That was hopefully good before, during, and after. Entire feminist revolution is simply about women not satisfied with the quality of the orgasm, with men sometimes not even able to reach an orgasm. Entire feminist revolution. When a woman tells you, I need this, I need that, I need that, I need a right to vote, I need right to this, right to that, she's basically telling you, she cannot say it in full if you're not close together, she's basically telling you, this is what I need to have a good orgasm. People going against the agenda of the puppets and puppeteers and brotherhoods and this and that, is not possible to have cervical orgasm with men in brotherhoods. Perhaps this is Gemini. Gemini has no filter. I had a friend, Gemini, she was dating a guy. She said, what is the problem of this man? He can work on his finger strength. Gemini rules the hands and particularly the fingers. She doesn't understand the problem. You do a little bit of exercise and then maybe he was in the brotherhood, so he wasn't supposed to please a woman. Or he was supposed to take for the sexual energy and dedicate it to the Moloch. Moloch was not good sex. Very simple. And this is why when we ask ourselves what needs to be so that there will be sex that people enjoy before, during, and after. So inclusivity, yes, if you're dating a person they're actually gay, they can't say it, then of course that needs to change, yes. But also for person to each to be able to live in their own house without that being a trafficking place. That needs to change. If person was a member of a pedo ring, yes. Problem, because if you're going to be very intimate, you're going to know. If a person is in the brotherhoods and they have these feminization rituals, okay, they're going to know. When I was in academia, one of the people I was TA of was in those brotherhoods. Yes, they begin to they begin to leak so much information. A part of the lectures is not in private conversations. And there was a case of sexual harassment with the dean. So they begin to say that yes, it's about power and that this and the men, they have connection, but on the account of the women, because women don't have to go to the army and so on and so forth. But all the army is economical hitmen. So they go to become men, and what becomes of them is the opposite, but not women. And so this is why, again, we see where all the advices that we are given are either not applicable or there is something missing. We are told to have discernment. Well, if all of these people have to be a part of all of these brotherhoods to get connections and job positions and so on, then what is discernment? We need to change society. It's not about, oh, why do you go with this man? But all men are like this. If they want to do something of themselves, then they have to be in this brotherhood. Then it's an overall societal problem of the upbringing of men, straight or gay. It's not about, oh, she was wearing this, or she was not paying attention, or this red flag, or that red flag. But it cannot be that all of these people behave exactly the same. It's almost, before I knew about cloning, I said it's almost like they're made in Ford. Because I was assisting women and men to see and discern for what are the patterns of those unhealthy relations, so that they can grow more and hopefully find happier relations. This is how I saw this. And until I saw that this is what is everywhere, because of the economy, because of the real estate. A man would want to have to own an apartment. Now it has to be a part of the brotherhoods because he can't own real estate otherwise. Now it has to be a little bit gay. What if he's not gay? Well, he has to make sex as rape. Now, he thinks for a woman it's the same. If she wants a house, then she will have to satisfy him for this, for that. It starts in the brotherhoods, because he had to do that to men to get a job or to get a house or to get... And now he cannot have good sex with his wife or even with his husband because they cannot disclose the things. And so, but if they have good orgasm, it's immediately... It is not only that, that would literally be the release. It's an emotional release. They would regain their sovereignty, and sovereign people, yes, even if they are the government, they become ungovernable. Then if a person doesn't participate in those questionable rights with children, it's very difficult to extort them. What can you say? Now, what can you say about a person? Was seen having an orgy with people during COVID, yes? But that person, they wanted to get out of the World Health Organization. They believed that COVID was military organization. They said that in line with their policy. They were acting their own thing. What's wrong with orgy of people or consenting people? No problem. What else could you say? Been seen cheating with ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. It's consenting adult, they're non-monogamous relationship. What do you want? You cannot extort such a person. For me, tending to political assassination prevention, it would be a dream. Do you know that today a person cannot tend to their own assassination prevention because it's considered betraying the mafia because of these brotherhoods? How am I supposed to interfere? I feel helpless. Helpless Neptune, helpless Neptune mafia. Having to surrender the issue. Wait for miraculous healing. So Uranus in Gemini bears the promise of a lot of release of energy blocks, dissolution of energy blocks, most of them in line with Pluto being in Aquarius. That's the time the people from the secret societies begin to say, we've had it. That was the French Revolution. What was all the guillotine is what they, if you reveal secrets of the brotherhoods, they slit the throat. When you see a person, if I look even at politicians, this person was assassinated, this person this person that, I look at the neck. Somebody that has this scar, I say, oh, they were doing something interesting in their lives. And usually it's those people that would be portrayed as the most dangerous people. That they would say, oh, they are like Hitler, they are like this, they are like that. But they can't tell you that they have a scar on their throat because they revealed that there is a plan to take over humanity or to enslave humanity. It's never going to be done in a way where it's easy to talk about. Take LGBTQ, okay? Gender affirming care. Sounds like a thing you don't want to take from someone. They can have gender dysphoria, they can suicide, they can this, they can that. Okay, fantastic. Why does nobody talks about the ethics of these surgeries? It's just one study case of the ethics of medical interference in general. Nobody talks about that. The gay people that went through that and can have this irreversible or not completely reversible, they don't have a voice in the platform. Gay people, trans people, no voice in the cancelled everywhere. So having the identity dependent on a diagnosis is bringing us back to the days where LGBTQ was seen as a disease. There are very likely rare cases where surgery would improve upon the personal image of a person, yes. For most of the rest of the cases, nobody allows a discernment to happen. This is just one case. Why? Because this is another way of having people dependent on the system for their identity. Politician that would tend to that would reveal a secret to enslave society by the medical boom, scar on the throat. If they survive. Now again, if I'm saying things that were actually done, I don't know that. It's just Uranus being claircognizant, and Uranus is the nervous system. So my intuition and connotations can coincide with actual cases. It's not because I know them. Okay, then that's important. When I say there was a case, I say there was a case, but when not, then I don't know. So we have a window of opportunity, 7-8 years, that coincides with 20 years of Pluto in Aquarius, and that's Uranus in Gemini. And this is another facet of the societal revolutions that occur so that people can have happy life or orgasmic life, so to speak. It means not doing the outdated habits that prevent that and beginning to practice the habits that support that. When society does that en masse, more is revealed. When Uranus was in Taurus, plenty of women, particularly after the Me Too, they didn't stop at the Me Too. Not all women litigated, most of them did it. Because you can say, this person said this person said that, but what if it was doing gaslighting? What if it was doing some hidden thing? What if it was doing some psychic thing that you didn't have even the way to verbalize? Then you went to astrology, then you went to channeling, then you went to circles of women, then you went to channeling your body and so on. And that began to expose things because as masses of women began that, their counterparts, men, were also curious. And suddenly speaking with your member there became something that is a good idea. Oh, that was not, oh, what the member said is not, oh, you don't want to listen to the little head because it's going to get you in trouble, but actually becoming aware that what you thought was erectile dysfunction was actually attunement with the fact that your counterpart is not ready. Doesn't mean that an erection means that everybody ready. For that we have communication. And so as masses of men and masses of women began to practice something that would give them better orgasms, better life, by the way, also financial sovereignty. Industrial revolution is creating a fruit shake. You can empty the water. Thank you. And then what happened? A man cannot be attuned with his penis and do the rites of the brotherhoods and complete the initiation being sexually sovereign. They have to betray. Betrayal is not in alignment with Kundalini rise. Being succubus or incubus is not in alignment with Kundalini rise. It's creating blocks. If you take somebody else's sexual energy, you take also somebody else's energy entirely, okay? That means their traumas, that means their blockages, that means and you bring that upon yourself. And then let's say you create with that person will sovereign up. Then what happens to your creation? Disintegrates. Also, if a woman has sex with someone, or man has sex with someone, and they were experiencing succubus, okay? They will not go there again. Mama, I'm recording. Thinking about the real estate. That's just an example. Uranus rules space. I worked for so many years to have a separate apartment so that I can have better relations with my family. And then the traffickers came in. And this is exactly what happened with Uranus in Taurus. Men and women began to wake up. I had my parent. They had, during the Me Too, their initial response was like, I'm sorry, the most, the man that you don't want to mess with, that you don't want anything to do with. Not in a good way. It was sexually corrupt. Afterwards, they began to realize that yes, there is something there. Now, in this person in their 60s, their 70s, begin to track back their entire life. And rethink. But things that they very likely intuitively knew but had no way to verbalize. And then there was the big interference. People tried to recruit people to sex trafficking because we were having action. And then what happened? People began to say, okay, so let's say cameras. How do working ladies protect themselves? Protect their income, protect themselves in the business, protect this, protect that. But then I was exposed to social engineering that told me, a lady came in. Oh, but in, what was it, Kiryat Gat, a city. There are many women lawyers. Now, no lawyers. They make 1,200 euros for a meeting. Okay? Women, both men and women. Yes. That's the fee. Oh, I know. They are single moms. They are working ladies. They're lawyers. And then I said, what lawyer? They make 1,200 euros per meeting. She said, no, they're not such calibers. And this I already know. So I identified the pedo ring leader by that tactic. I know that they tend to talk like this, even though I'm speaking with a woman. And then she says to me, no, but they turn each other in because they receive something from the welfare and they turn each other in because of the, like, prostitution is not legalized in Israel. This is not income that is taxable like in Netherlands. In Netherlands, if there is working lady, I think she needs to pay taxes. She needs to register the income and to pay taxes. She runs a business. In Israel, it's not like that at all. Not only that, it's not legal. Not legal from the client side, so the woman is not subjected to litigation. So she was telling mumbo jumbo. But community of ladies that betray us said, this is a cult, this is a trafficking cult. And indeed, I saw women that trafficked their daughters right in front of me. They work with the police. So you cannot turn to the police. And they work with the real estate. Now, go and have an orgasm with a lady like that or with a man like that. It's not possible to enjoy a before, during, and after. It doesn't matter what people do, psychosis, or take drugs to induce psychosis, or try to do urges to control people. It doesn't matter. People are going to sovereign up. And in Gemini, we're going to be addressing that as a workers' revolution. Nowadays, everybody knows. OnlyFans. Everybody knows it's a trafficking platform. And then the ladies traffic other ladies so they don't have to do, yes, the self-rape themselves in front of the cameras. Not going well with good sex. Also, not the wealth that you enjoy, because all the time they have to dissociate again with drugs, dissociate with this, dissociate with that. So, what?
Sorry.
Yes? Why did they try to get me out of the previous apartment? Because my mother would come to visit me. And they said, like that, we cannot traffic her. Yes? Also, the other way around cannot. The soul never agrees to be trafficked. Like that, there is the mother. Yes? But otherwise, a guy tells me, what do you do? I want to throw A-bombs on cities. I said, throw A-bomb on this city. But you will be dead. If I can be saved, okay. If not, better kill everyone. And then they teach you to plant urges, so you begin to plant urges for them to do that. Then it's 9/11 on human trafficking. How do you think all this terror happens? Political assassination necessitates those people that plant these urges, and then for the person to be in a certain place, and then for the assassin to be in a certain place, and for the assassin to shoot the person. Usually they do it as a bombing, as a terror attack. If it's a very high profile figure, then they do it like a JFK. Doesn't go well with good sex. The mafia is like an Italian nonna that enters. I saw short of Italian person. Okay, the nonna, the mama. Okay, she enters the bathroom with her friends, doesn't even let the person their own privacy. Not compatible with good sex. Now people want out of those type of trajectories. And it's not going to be shown as we rebel the mafia. No. It's going to be that Italian man that wants to have a separate apartment so that the nonna doesn't come in the shower with her friends because she needs that or she needs that. And they always have an excuse. I got a lovely pizza right now. It's a good pizza. And fruit shake, can you complain about that? No, you cannot complain about that. Does the nonna have her privacy? No. Because there would be all these people in the astrals. But if she talks about that, she's a witch. And so entire society goes kaput. This is the time where people begin to actually do something about it. It's not going to show itself in the way that I described that, but it's going to be, people are going to be fighting for, first of all, not working all the time, fighting for having their own separate apartment. Taxation, taxation, taxation. Well, if I need this taxation, and just the thing that I bought for my feet, okay, and to treat my and the good brush for my teeth, no coverage for that is 1/4. Just these two things, and the laser for the nails that nobody covers for, because to begin with, nobody covered for shoes that I can actually wear. Just that is 1/4 of my income. 1/4 that I spend on medicine that there is no coverage for. In Israel, the country that everybody envies for what? For its medical coverage. Then people begin to awaken. I cannot stand on my feet. But also not to sit all the time is also not good. Is there any viable income that allows for that? They've turned all the professions into trafficking professions. People have had enough of that. They don't want that. And this is why I say Uranus rules the Kundalini rise. To orgasm with another, which is, and even with the self, which is enjoyable before, during, and after, is a social revolution from the core of the world. And that is what is happening right now. Venus is self-pleasure. Taurus is self-pleasure me. Gemini is the two. All those things that were instated on lack of sexual sovereignty. From the core, Lilith is in Scorpio, from the core, from the psychological things, from the psychic things that people can talk about. Not just the incubus, the succubus, the attempt to have a person have a kink that they don't actually have. To have them come on things that that are not actually arousing. By traumatizing them. Anybody that participates in that, people are going to begin to identify that. If that is done at work, people give commands at work. What do you give commands at work? There's nothing to give commands to. I came to work, not to receive commands. I have the value that I have to bring to society, and for this is what I can do, and this is what I cannot do. And sometimes there are things that I can do, and sometimes I cannot do. You don't accept that. Go see how it will be with a robot on the Mercury retrograde. Do you know what will be with AI on Mercury retrograde? The entire world will be in zoomies. It's going to be fantastic. Yes. Don't travel a plane or ride a car, because everything is going to be AI controlled, and then a Mercury retrograde is just like a cat on zoomies. People, most of the connotation of the verbal, Mercury's words, that they have for sexuality comes from what they do in their day-to-day life. People are going to begin to look at what they do in their day-to-day life, and is it contributing to having a good orgasm? You hear all, if you live in Israel, you cannot watch the news, because all the news is sexually violent commentaries supposedly about war. You say these people, there's no good sex. Not good. It's not. Nobody's going to be happy with some before and during and after. Nobody's going to be happy like that. And those things are the excess psychological effect on society. If a person takes a part in raping people, they're not going to be good sex. And they're not going to be vouched for either. Because it's a treason-based society, what they are basing those weird behaviors on. That's just life. Gemini sees that in a very light-hearted way. Aries is being reasonable. Uranus is ideology. You see, enslavement of society works best where society is already enslaved. Then society doesn't resist much, because it is in par with the traditional culture. Such society more easily enslaved. For the other society, but even those societies begin to awaken. This is the power of Uranus in Gemini. Those that want to stay in situations where they're enslaving, they are not here to stay, very simply put. They're not here to stay. Why? Because they are not here. A free man need not oppress another. A free woman need not oppress another. A free gay person need not oppress another. And that is Uranus in Gemini.